Alright, hello again folks. Today I want to do another product review, this time of the Adafruit QT Py ESP32. So it's this little board right here, real tiny, real small, and effectively it has the same functionality as the original ESP32 chip in a much smaller package. And so we'll see what's a potential use case for this little device is. So because of the size of these things, the use cases are somewhat limited, because if you just wanted to do tests on a ESP32 board, something with a Arduino Uno layout, it's probably going to be a lot more flexible, much more useful for future projects. These little things like this, generally you need to have a specific use case where you need the size. In our case, the specific use we're looking at is to act as a wireless Bluetooth bridge between our desktop control software and our different models of spin coder kit. So we have two versions of our spin coder kit. One of them makes use of a brushless DC motor, and the other one makes use of a high-speed stepper motor. And for the brushless DC motor, they're controlled by this Arduino Nano Avery board, and the stepper motor versions are controlled by this TIC T249 stepper motor driver. So in the case of the version with the brushless DC motor, we use our own firmware on the Arduino Nano, so our desktop software sends commands to this and it understands these commands. For the stepper motor version, we don't modify any of the firmware that runs on this board. We just use it as is, which effectively means our desktop software cannot directly send commands to this. So we need a middle layer or translation layer, and this is where this little board comes in. So why did we make use of this little board instead of the other proliferate of ESP32 boards out there? Well, first and foremost, the size, because we weren't really planning to connect anything else up to it besides power and RTX pins. We didn't need something this size, and it makes it very convenient just to use some shrink wrap and a USB-A cable to connect it to the spin coder kits. Secondly, and most importantly, is that this little board supports Bluetooth Classic or Bluetooth SPP. And it makes it very easy to connect our desktop software to it, because our desktop software is built to work over USB TTL adapters, and classic Bluetooth devices like this, works transparently in the Windows environment, also in the Linux and also the Mac environment. So when we say Bluetooth low energy version of these boards, we'd have to modify our desktop software to work with the board. Alright, quick note about these QT boards is that I think there are about 5 different variants of this with different microcontroller units, and they all look alike. The pinout is all the same and everything. So but the advantage of this one versus the other ones, again, is because this one supports Bluetooth Classic or SPP, and the newer ones, they don't. If they do support Bluetooth, it's always Bluetooth low energy, and there's some variants of this board which doesn't even support Bluetooth, so it's only Wi-Fi only, and others have a RISC-V MCU versus the Extensor MCU. So if you want to get one of these, make sure you're looking at the specifications closely so that you're getting the right board to fit your needs. Alright, so what we like about this board, let's see. Number one is build quality. Adafruit products always have superior build quality than some of the clones you'll find out there. Number two, again, support. So there's a lot of documentation on this, and so it's very easy to set up. Number three is, again, what we liked about this is also the fact that it has a red, green, blue NeoPixel, so it makes it easy for us to clearly indicate what model is being used. And another thing we liked about this is that even though this was meant to as a bridge between our desktop software and our spin coder kits, because it has Wi-Fi built in, it's pretty easy to set up a access point and a basic web page for control. So this web page is being served from the actual module, and again, we're just gonna select the model, so the LED clearly indicates that, and we're gonna set our acceleration, and we're gonna set our speed, and yeah, you could just start the model, and it works. So these are the pluses of this board. What are some of the downsides that we found? I think number one is just clarity on the documentation for the RxTX connection. On the Adafruit website, it wasn't clear how you get the RxTX pins to work. Luckily, there are other sources we found, and it was, once we saw how to do that, it was pretty straightforward. But it would be nice if on their website they actually have some demo code to see how to use these RxTX pins. Second issue again we ran into was whether or not you could use the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi together. When you do a search for that, you get different information on that. So some sources say you can, some sources say you can. Well, in our experience, you definitely can. Another thing we ran into is whether or not these boards are 5-volt tolerant. So this is something we've been looking at for years, and we could never find a clear answer to this. And in our use case here, these Arduino boards, the RxTX pins are definitely 5-volt. The logic level for this is definitely 3.3 volts. And we connect them up together. We left it out there for a whole day testing whether or not that connection drops out or anything happens to the board itself, board burns out. And the good news is it seems pretty stable. And now in our case, we only sending data over this at 19.2 kilobits. So maybe that's why we're not seeing any issues. If you trying to use this for higher data transfer rates, you might run into problems. One other thing we would like to see now for this board is a nice little case for it, because odds are if you're making use of one of these little tiny devices, you probably it's going to be a single use case. So you probably want a nice little case for that. I wish they would offered a small 3D printed case to just snap it in there, and so it looks more, I guess, more professional and it's a little bit more protected. But because of the small size, you could just use clear shrink wrap tubing, and which is what we did, and that more or less protects all the wiring and the pins on there. So in closing, would we recommend this board for a particular project, production level project? Yes, the build quality is good enough, and again, the documentation is really good, and from our own testing and all that, it works real well in that setting.